1140 The Fan.
Talkin Money.
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Yeah. We did get a winner off the text line. So, Grant, you can call him if you want there on the 916. Did you get any other callers that won that day? Or no? You got one? Okay, we'll do one. We can get one of each. That's fine. Apple, who doesn't like to let loose with a lot of their secrets, if you will, and I wouldn't either. You're kicking everybody else's rear. Why tell them why?
Right.
But this came out during the case with Samsung. Apple discussed a document that said Apple spent $647 million advertising the iPhone in the U.S. That goes back to 2007. And through the fiscal year 2011, the iPad they spent $457 million on. So in 2 years, they spent $457 million on the iPad, and in 5, 640. So a lot of money both places. But the iPad, they really came out and were really dropping some coin on trying to get that thing to. I don't know. I get that's a lot of money. I was talking about John last week. He thought that those numbers sounded low to him, like they would have spent more than that. I think the benefit that the iPhone and iPad get are a lot of free advertising. Meaning,
sure.
Meaning just all the publicity about, the news crews come out and show you standing in line waiting for the iPhone 5, which I will be doing, but actually I don't stand in line for it. But when it comes out, I'm getting one when it comes out. But that's all. They don't pay for that. Come on out. Look at the lines of the iPhone.
Right.
So they get a lot of extracurricular activity for free, if you will. We got a couple phone lines open if you want to jump in today. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. I mentioned to begin the show I had a boatload of real estate stuff, and I'll climb into a little bit of that if you want. I did note a couple things. I mentioned last week something's happened at the Sacramento Bee.
What's that?
They're actually doing really good article. So somebody over there is really, they're doing some research and writing some good stuff. And I thought this must be from, what's the date today?
18th.
Okay, so this goes back a couple weeks, I guess. I've been carrying this around. I got in the business in 89. I got in the real estate business about 89, and got in the mortgage business about 2002. So I'm just referencing that. Okay, so I got in the real estate business just about the beginning of the start of a fairly good decline in terms of just real estate activity from 90 to 97 was about a 29% decline in terms of prices and volatility. And I remember to this day, my dad telling me, "Hey, look, every boom has a bust, and every bust has a recovery, and every recovery I've seen following the boom has been bigger than the last one." And here comes this chart from the 36 years of home price volatility out of the Sacramento newspaper. And damn, if my dad wasn't semi-right. Well, second time maybe. Oh, first time. Okay. But you go back to 1976, they had a little boom from 76 to 81. Prices were up. A short boom from 81 to 84. That's when I was in high school. Down. Then the next one up was up 48%. So went from up 37 to down to back up to 48, then down bigger, and then up bigger. The biggest boom we've had, which ended in 2006, from 97 to 2006, a plus 135% in house prices. And now, of course, follows that the biggest downturn of the last 36 years, minus 53%. And the article, is throwing out the question, okay, does that mean that, so every time we've gone down, we've gone up even bigger? Does that mean the next one we're going to be even bigger? And they quoted Carl Case from the Case-Shiller Index, and he said, no, it doesn't mean we're going to have a big boom again either. But I thought it was a very telling article, because what are we missing now as you come? And first of all, we're not done with this drop down yet, right? I made a note here that said, the first little dip was for 3 years, the next one was for 7 years, and the next one doesn't have an ending date yet because we haven't come out. And I put 10 ? Because when you talk around people in the industry, almost routinely you hear this 2014, 2016 range. Well, that puts you 8, 9, 10 years. 10 years into it. And I depending on area, I think our area is been doing a little better. In fact, if you look at some of the articles, a lot better. But in terms of a and this is an article about Sacramento, so maybe we won't have to go quite 10 years, but nationally, I mean, people were talking about a 10-year window, a 10-year decline, and I don't see the corresponding, continuing rise in terms of another boom bigger than the last one, and I think partly because we don't have the same group of people that will be in the the home buying group. This represents a baby boom, right? This is a climb of people who are homeowners. You take people that were born in the late, mid 30s or early 1940, they would have been, 35 here, they'd have been 45 here, and they'd have been, almost 60 here. Well, that's pretty much when you're kind of done. After 60, you're kind of done on, buying new houses and doing things. You start going the other direction. Maybe we'll see a bigger boom in the smaller downsized places or condos, but I don't think you can anticipate, okay, when it comes back next time, it's going to come roaring back. There's just not enough people. And the people that are around, still around buying houses have a fairly good memory. And I think what's encouraging is I travel around to some of the different high schools, and I do a credit class and a mortgage class in different high schools on a kind of a one-off basis. But these kids, and I'm talking about kids that are now 16 to 20, have a very, very clear picture of what happens when you screw up. Because their family did it, their neighbor did it, their brother, their cousin, somebody in their life, very, very close to them, if not them themselves, has been thrown out of their house. I use that derogatory, but out of their house, lost their house, had to move, live on a block where every other house was for sale, and that is their own version of it's just going to burn a memory in their head. It's their own. When Wall Street melted down, and your grandfather said, "You got to save every penny." Kind of the Black Friday.
Right.
It's just that's going to stick with them. Hopefully, it'll stick with them. Hopefully, it doesn't keep them from buying houses, but at least it will stick in their head. Hey, wait a minute. I better do something realistic here. And I'm very encouraged by the kids that are in high school now and coming up, and maybe they'll maintain that mentality and not get themselves in such the spotlight that their parents and grandparents did. So, but interesting article. I'll see how this tracks out. I did note that the Wall Street Journal quoted Sacramento again. We get quoted a lot in the Wall Street Journal, good or bad, and this one was fairly, I guess you could call it good. Housing shortage slows sales, and that was the article coming out of the Wall Street Journal. Sales of previously owned homes fell 5.4% in June from May, and that is one of the biggest declines in a long time. And they quoted Sacramento. Median house prices rose in June for the fourth straight month, up 7.9% from a year ago. Sacramento foreclosure sales down 72% in Phoenix and 46% in Sacramento. So sales of foreclosed homes. And we talked about this last week. There aren't any more foreclosed homes because the short sales become so popular, so well received, and so done so well by the banks that it doesn't get to foreclosure. So you're not going to see a lot of foreclosed homes, but I don't think they're tracking short sales in that category either. But there's not a lot of short sales either.
Right.
There's just not a lot of stuff to buy. So that brings us to this. The good news for those of you that did get a home or got in on one, particularly the last period of time, we're seeing rates now, percentage increase in value of your home, depending on neighborhoods, up as much as 7% in a year. That's pretty good. And here's the zip codes that didn't do so good. And I don't know where all these are. So if you're in one of these zip codes, call me and tell me why your neighborhood is not doing so good. And Kevin, I'll get to you in just a second, I promise. So these are the zip codes. Now, so this is the map out of the Sacramento Bee, August 16th. This is this week. July home price trends. Everything in blue, light blue, or yellow is good. And that map is pretty much blue.
It is.
A little bit of yellow. But here's some of the zip codes that just have not caught up yet and have still had some price declines. 95693, which is down in South Sacramento County. I don't know what that is, if that's Elk Grove or where that is. Up in El Dorado, 95672. And 95864, which is generally, I thought that was like the Fab 40s area, is generally an area that does pretty well. So I'm a little bit surprised. So there's basically three main zip codes in our three-county area that have just lagged a little bit, but everybody else has had price appreciation in some places up to 10%. So what we're seeing now is lack of demand, or lack of supply, increased demand, prices go up. And the lack of those low-end houses, that stuff that was all 100 to 200, is going to be the stuff that picks up the most in terms of value, I think. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's go. Kevin's been holding here patiently. Hey, Kevin, welcome to Talkin Money. How you doing?
Oh, doing good, Jeff. That's interesting. I saw that same thing in the Sacramento Bee, and I was surprised because I'm in 9564, It's actually Arden Park, Sierra Oaks.
Oh, that's right.
Arden
Yeah,
Manor.
right.
And I really thought my little area would go up, but I wondered, Jeff, and you know this a lot better than I do, is it because a lot of these Arden Arcade has turned into rentals, so the properties, maybe the money hasn't gone into them as if it's a homeowner and it's going to be a rental? So maybe they haven't put as much money into the house before they turn it into a rental, or they flip it?
Yeah, that's because that 95864 extends north, off of Fair Oaks Boulevard. So you have a cluster of that kind of Sierra Oaks stuff that's really nice, but a low turnover, right? 'Cause you don't see a lot of that stuff sell because people don't want to leave.
Right.
So the high end houses that are in there aren't turning over, and then you go north up Watt Avenue, and I think Kevin's right. You're starting to get into some of the houses that are being flipped and being turned over and are less desirable, and they're becoming tenant-owned properties. And that's probably right. You're probably just seeing an anomaly, if you will, of just the stuff that's selling is kind of the low end stuff that's being flipped or being sold. So that's probably a good point, Kevin. I knew the 95864 sounded familiar, but I just couldn't put my head on it here on the radio. So.
Well, and they're very similar in the fact that, the best stuff in 6.4 is like the best stuff in 1.9. I think both those, and there's probably a couple of more out there too, where they're kind of the cream of the crop when it comes to Sacramento. You got McKinley, you got Land Park, you got Arden Park, Sierra Oaks, Sierra Vista. There's probably about 3 or 4 I haven't even listed. I got to ask you, Jeff, I'm getting in on this VA loan, and I'm probably going to take you guys' phone number before I get off the phone if it's okay.
Sure.
Man, I did a loan a couple times on this. Well, one other time on this house I refinanced, maybe 8-10 years now. And I'll tell you, there's definitely a benefit of having your person, and maybe you've gone over this before, having the mortgage company you're working with or having the people you're working with in your own town. I'm emailing, I'm faxing, and they're not here, so I'm at the mercy, like picking up the phone. I can't just drive across town and go, hey, where is it in the process? I'm at the mercy that they're going to get back to me in a day, a week, 3 days. I just paid for the appraisal, thought it was a little bit high. It was a VA appraisal. I think I have to use their appraisers.
Yep.
That was $450.
Yep.
I thought the last time I did it was a civilian company. I thought it was more like $300.
Well, a few things have changed. And Kevin, that's a good call. Kevin, I'll put you back on hold here just for a minute. We'll get Kevin's information. So he made a couple notes in there that I thought were interesting. One is that using somebody local. And this goes back to shopping for a sink, online. A Kohler sink, model number XYZ is a Kohler sink model XYZ in Bisque or whatever. You know what it is, and you can get it wherever it is. And I deal with this every minute of every day. So I got a quote from somebody in Southern California or from somebody back in Cleveland or something else too, and I it's very important to shop around, absolutely. But when I hear quotes come back to me that are a quote that A, they didn't give me anything in writing, B, we didn't discuss how you can lock it, and C, it's a quote cheaper than, and I own part of the company, than I could do, than we buy the loans from a company level. I don't mean that I could get that's cheaper than our company gets the money for before we pay everybody else. When I hear those kind of things, I say, you know what, something doesn't sound right to me. No, they told me it was going to be. I said, well, who are you talking to? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But he sounded, they're professional phone people, and I'm not saying they all can't do it. A lot of them can, but you get what you get, and there's some local companies here too that, quite frankly, by law, when you make an application, you are to be given a completely written good faith and truth in lending within 3 days. Now, that means that make application. But if you're just talking to them on the phone, I can tell you, I can give you a 0% rate right now. Okay? I can give you a 0% rate right now. If you owe $100,000, your closing costs are going to be $101,000. Okay? Because I'm going to take the $100,000, pay off your mortgage, and I'm going to keep $1,000 for myself. That's a 0% rate. The closing fees are a little stiff, but the rate's good. But we can talk about anything we want to talk about on the phone. And there's some very, very creative companies who do a lot of marketing who don't tell you that, it's a 15-day lock and we don't lock till the end, and if it floats, then you're kind of out of luck. So I'm not saying you don't shop around. You should shop around. And likewise, a lot of my clients I'm here in town, they don't want to come to my office. They love uploading stuff to me and emailing it to me and faxing it to me. So you have to kind of figure out the different personalities and people. And it is nice. We have 5 or 6 offices. You can drop into one and drop some stuff off if you want, or I'll come and pick it up. But not everybody likes that. People like to upload their stuff and use the internet. So that's you kind of have to just discuss. But I say this all the time, that particularly for myself, I'm on this radio every single week for the last 9 years. My office is right over here in Roseville. If I tell you something and I don't live up to it, it's very easy to come find me. And it's very easy to tarnish my reputation if I go around and lying about everything I do. And I spend a lot of time and money doing that. So am I going to risk giving you some BS quote because to ruin all that? There's no way in hell.
Right.
I'm sorry. Your business is not that important to me to lie to you to try to get one deal to ruin everything else that I've tried to build up. It's not going to happen. And you go find Bill, who's on the 1-800 number in SoCal, and try to track him down again. He's going to tell you whatever he wants to hear, whatever you want to hear. So there's some good points in there, Kevin. As far as the appraisal goes, and I'll take a quick break because he's on to something there. Appraisals are more expensive now. A government appraisal has always been more, and the VA will assign you an appraiser, and you have to use their VA-assigned appraisal. You can take it wherever you want to go. You can take that appraisal and come to me or whoever you want to go, but you got to use VA's appraiser. And appraisals are more expensive. There's a whole lot more work those guys have to do. I would never be an appraiser. It's too much work.
Oh, yeah.
And it's too much work. So, Kevin, if you want to get a hold of me during the week, 338-9400 or JeffTarbell.com. We're going to take a quick break. This is Talkin' Money. I think our text line is broken again. We'll be right back.